Hi guys. This morning I wanted to come on and talk about the ways we can stand up against pedophiles in our own direct lives. It doesn't even have to be directly approaching pedophiles. Because I just keep seeing all this happening and I'm like, by avoiding it, by cheering on the Super Bowl, by like fighting against that stuff, we're ignoring our inner child. Like, it is our collective inner child right now that's being re-traumatized. Think about it. It's life force. It's children's innocence right now being dangled on a carrot, and people are arguing whether we should like care about it or not. And like, is it a psyop? Probably, for the further agendas that, for the next agenda that they want. Sure, that's probably true. And I think instead of feeling like we can't do anything about it, we have to look at our own individual lives. You know, people might not have like sexual abuse energy in their own families, but I'm sure a lot of people have boundaries that are unspoken, or things that are unspoken within their own individual families. And when we speak up on that in our workplaces and our families, it's gonna shake things up. Like, I just got fired this morning. I've never been fired in my life. I've always quit jobs or walked away. I had to really think about it. I was like, have I been fired before? I haven't. And recently, like, just giving an example of my own individual life, my own personal life, I was not saying anything for the first month that I was there, even though I didn't like the way that the owner talked to me. And the man wouldn't even look at me. Like, he would never make eye contact with me, which I found very bizarre. And there was other things. I just didn't like how I was spoken to. So the other day, last week, I was spoken to in a certain way, and I just said, hey, were you, like, after calming myself down, because I was triggered, and I calmed myself down, and I went to the bathroom and came back up, and I was like, when you said that, were you trying to shame me? Because it sounds to me like you were trying to shame me. And when you say things directly and you call things as they are, people are not going to like it. And that's okay. They're not supposed to. And I can't say I'm speaking about this like it's an easy thing to do. It's not. You're going to feel like you're shaking. You're going to feel like you're dying. And like, we have to learn to regulate ourselves, because I've spoken about this to people, and like, a lot of people just fluff it off. Some of the same people who talk about, natural law and talk about being on the spiritual path, especially fucking New Agers. It's like, oh, well, that's just how it is. That's just how it is. You know why that's just how it is? Is because we're not speaking up about shit. We're not protecting our inner child. We're not saying things. We're not expressing the truth of what we feel inside without shitting on people. And after calming ourselves down, that's important. Like, you can't just be a rageaholic. It's as tempting as it is, you're just going to get called unhinged. So that's fair. And, to be fair, in my past, have I been the most grounded when I've set boundaries? No. But it takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes slowing things down, slowing yourself down, watching your reaction, observing it, and also asking, by me not saying anything right now, who am I protecting? Who am I not protecting? What age am I right now, 7 years old, feeling this like shame? And like, our responsibility in these situations is to feel the response, is to feel the reaction that we have internally, is to feel all the stories we are telling ourselves about what that treatment means about us, which it's not personal, but we're obviously reacting to an old wound, and that's important to address within ourselves, and also to address with our surroundings. If people are talking down to us, if people are trying to shame us because they don't want to self-reflect and look at what's going on within themselves, guess what? We're allowing that shit to happen, and we're allowing it to continue to happen. And if you think that this doesn't impact sexual abuse, energy, the pedophiles in the world, that's bullshit. Because when people keeping, like, as an example, I finally have said something. I got fired, so obviously that's not the ideal, but I mean, it is, because I don't want to be around that if I can't talk human to human with somebody and be like, hey, like, I really work well when I'm spoken to with compassion and empathy. And if that doesn't work for somebody, then I'm okay with that. I'm good with that, And this isn't about continuously living in blame and like the story that we're telling ourselves about people, but it is speaking up for ourselves. Because when we speak up for ourselves, we speak up for the next person who's going to work at this job, and maybe there'll be a little bit of self-reflection or like pause for like before somebody talks to someone else with shame. I don't know for sure, but like when I first spoke up for myself last week, I kept having these reminders of this old job I had at a gas station when I was between 16 to 20 years old. And I was like, what is this? Why does this keep coming up? And I just realized it. But then after speaking up and telling the owner, like, like when you said that, it sounded like you were trying to shame me. I left work and I felt uplifted, not because I felt better and because I felt like I was coming from my ego, but I felt like, right, that was the right thing to do. God, spirit, our heart, our gut, our instinct injury, our 7-year-old self feels that. I was walking away and I just felt like my 7-year-old self being like, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging my needs. Thank you for caring about me. And it's not about running our life based on that 7-year-old self, but it is about acknowledging our existence as a human to be treated well with dignity and compassion. And so I go to the grocery store that same night, and I wasn't planning on going because I don't typically like going grocery shopping after work at night. So I went to the grocery store, and I ended up getting fruit, which I was not planning on getting. And I was like, shit, I wish I had a basket. So, like, I shit you not, 2 seconds later, this little 17-year-old boy comes up to me. He's like, hi, ma'am, would you like a basket? And I just started crying. Like, he gave me the basket, and I was just having my moment after. Like, I thanked him because it was just such a nice, touching exchange with a stranger. And I was just thinking about it after. I'm like, isn't it funny? I just spoke up for myself in a place where I typically shy away from. I honestly, that's one thing I'm learning right now, is having better boundaries and speaking them from a grounded place, which my family and Tyler would know is not it's something I'm working on. It's taken a long time to be grounded about it and not reactive. And I'm really proud of the way I handled this, because I was very grounded and I was very kind about it, but I was also very direct. And so having that 17-year-old boy, it just felt like kind of like a hug from like my 17-year-old self, and I know people walking this path will understand. Some people might think this sounds nuts, but that's okay. Because I just want to be a reminder that when we speak up for ourselves, we speak up for others, we speak up for our younger selves. And I was just thinking about it that night. I was like, would I want my niece to be talked to that way? Fuck no. What would I tell a friend? And like, yeah, maybe there's part of my shadow there. I'm a little bit short and snappy myself, which I am learning to work through and acknowledge that has come up for me to protect myself. And it usually comes up when I see Tyler acknowledge he's anxious, or he's just acting silly. I notice myself feel slightly angry, but it's not Tyler. He's showing me an innocent part that I have hidden away within myself. And that's what when people treat us poorly, when people react to us that way, and like the difference is the volume. Like, I'm looking at that reaction. This volume at work was turned way up in how I was spoken to. So, yeah, it's not personal. Yeah, it's about the other person, but at the same time, when we keep not saying anything, when we keep just taking it, like everything that's happening right now, them dangling the carrot of these Epstein files, and I did look into a little bit. That's our innocence being dangled like a carrot, and turning away from it is not the answer. Hyper obsessing about it, I don't think is the answer either. But like, we have to fucking acknowledge the shit that's happening to children. We're doing it in our own lives. And obviously the volume is turned right fucking down. Most of you watching this, I'm sure, have never ate a baby or raped a fucking child. But like, when you see parents shaming their child, or when parents just make excuses and shame their children, that is telling that child to get used to that treatment in the future. And guess what? When a child is neglected, when a child is shamed as a child, that becomes their inner voice. And they become a walking target when they're older. They become a walking target for abuse when they're older. They look outside towards older adults to nurture them and provide them compassion. And not all older adults have good intentions. I know, because I'm a walking example of this. I had an alcoholic father, mother who was in and out of the psych ward. I felt very neglected as a child, and I know this conversation might trigger some of the only family I have on here, but I'm not talking about it to shame people. I'm talking about it to bring awareness, because I'm fucking sick of people, adults, making an excuse for shitty behaviors towards others. Someone asking you to be more compassionate in how you speak to them is not mistreatment. They're not being abusive. They're asking to have a better relationship with you. Like, this Mel Robbins bullshit has got to be shoved down the toilet, as far as I'm concerned. We're telling people to just, like, that's like the middle ground here, is like, someone setting boundaries with you is not telling you that you're an awful human being. They're telling you they want a deeper relationship. They're telling you they want a more cohesive environment. That is not wrong. And if you're shitting on them for doing that, you have some work to do. You have a lot of